So during the previous question, I lost the audio for one little second. So you may have addressed that point, but I want to reinforce it even if you did. And if you didn't, I don't want to miss it. You know, the goal of Singularity University Graduate Studies Program is to basically come up with a project, with an entity, ideally a company, which would impact positively the lives of 1 billion people within 10 years. So that's the stated goal. That's what it's all about, making a difference, making a dent in the universe. What is the goal of FutureMed program?
So from my perspective, wearing the hat of sort of executive director, it's a great question. I think there are going to be different goals for different people coming to the program. From my perspective, I want to think about and educate and cross-fertilize sort of movers and shakers across the spectrum, not just doctors and healthcare people, to recognize, number one, what are some of the big challenges across healthcare? We know some of those already: obesity and bad habits and changing habits, to aging demographics, the needs for impacting problems like Alzheimer's, et cetera. We know there's lots of problems in healthcare, but getting people up to speed with what are the sort of the cutting edge technologies that can affect medicine, not even the traditional ones necessarily, but where are the trends heading in personalized medicine and genomics? You know, since last year's FutureMed, it was about a $10,000 genome, and now we're at a $1,000 genome. What can we do with that? What are the opportunities and challenges to apply that to, let's say, cancer? Big problem, curing cancer. We'll talk about how we might get to personalized oncology. If we're at a $1,000 or a $100 genome, how soon will we really be sequencing every single tumor, sometimes multiple times, to pick the right cocktail of drugs, or be able to synthetically derive a very specific therapy to an individual's very unique molecular fingerprint or set of pathways that could be best treated? That's one example. So to more succinctly answer your question, I would say the goal of FutureMed, from my view, is to educate and inspire people to see where technology is heading, where it can interestingly converge, and how it can really start to speed up innovation to address big problems across health and medicine. And that might be better prevention, because I think if we spend our time and money and attention on preventing people from getting sick, and that can use a lot of technology, from apps to virtual reality or augmented reality. If you look in the mirror in the morning and you see your healthy you or your unhealthy you, that can really change your behavior. If we leverage smart wearable devices, the quantified self-movement, dashboards, better user interface, better design technology, better psychology, we can affect that whole sort of prevention field very dramatically. We need to start getting the payers involved, big insurance. One of our lead speakers will be the head of Medicare and CMS for Region 9, which is the largest Medicare region in the US, and they spend most of the dollars on paying for chronic disease. So they have a big incentive on better care at lower costs. So it's a complex answer, but I would say we should hopefully be able to speed up innovation, let people have a better vision as to where things can go, and hopefully address big problems going forward in more collaborative ways, and make relationships, and maybe new companies will spin out of this, and some sort of have, just like from the summer, that can address big problems. One of the spin-outs, in a sense, from last summer was a company called Scanadu, which had just formed right before FutureMed, but made many new connections and fundings and ideas that is spurring them to address the new X Prize, focused on creating a medical tricorder, which is an example, you know, the tricorder X Prize of exponentials at play. How do we shrink all those technologies into essentially a mobile phone to enable better point-of-care diagnostics in a less invasive way?
So let me ask you this then. Have your ideas about medicine in particular, and let's bring it even here, longevity in general, evolved since the time that you originally joined Singularity University and founded the FutureMed program?
Sure. You know, longevity is a really interesting field and not a problem, but area to attack. And Aubrey de Grey, who's on faculty at Singularity U and will be there this FutureMed session, together with Sonia Aronson, will be doing a session on longevity and aging. And, you know, I've never sort of defined myself as a singularitarian. I'm very interested in all those concepts and the singularity per se. I've never personally been, you know, pursuing, as I get older, I'm more interested potentially, but I've never said I live to 200, 300. I haven't had that goal necessarily for myself. but I see the appeal for many people and the opportunity to, we spend so much of our time and money and economy on treating the very chronically ill and the very sick at the end of life. And there's many opportunities to improve health span. I'm much more interested in having healthy, not just longevity per se in years, but effective, integrated, effective, engaged lives. And so I think health span is where I'd probably health leverage, a new term, rather than just longevity. But from my hat running the medicine track at SU and at FutureMed, I've seen a lot of new technologies coming downstream, and I'm getting a much better appreciation for how quickly they're moving, whether there's elements of telomerase and measuring and manipulating that world, or the world of synthetic biology, or how quickly my field of regenerative medicine is moving and how things can apply there. The folks in the SENS world and Aubrey and other worlds have done a nice job of, let's take a looking at aging per se as a mechanistic process, and how might we attack that from different fields. Just like I'll put my cancer doctor oncology hat on and say we can't treat leukemia or lymphoma or lung cancer with one drug. We have to attack it from multiple angles to affect different mechanisms in that path and hopefully make it very specific to the individual's tumor. We need to do the same thing for longevity, and that's going to be understanding someone's genome very well, their environmental data, which can be influenced or measured by their mobile phone, for example, or sensors. Mm-hmm. It's going to be better ways of monitoring their diet, environmental issues, all those sorts of things coming together can be applied to affect longevity. There won't be any one silver bullet. Resveratrol is interesting, but it's not going to be the full, as an example, approach. So I think there's something there about that escape velocity for longevity that's been talked about by Ray and others. And many folks who come to Singularity U and FutureMed will be pursuing that. And by putting those threads together, just like we want to treat a cancer very differently, I think we'll optimize the cocktail for you or me in terms of optimizing my longevity. And that might be very different from individual to individual. And many of the exponentials at play that we'll be talking about and are exploring will create new opportunities to address that.
So when I interviewed Aubrey de Grey for this podcast, I interviewed him twice, and on the first interview he said that longevity escape velocity may be closer than we think. What would you say about that statement? How do you see that?
I'm an optimist. I would love to think it's closer than we think, and I don't know what the current number is. But medicine, unlike other technological fields in healthcare, does a lot of challenges, and I am definitely an optimist. I want to push things out there. But it's, by its nature, challenging for some good reasons. We do have a regulatory environment. You just can't throw a new drug or device or invasive procedure out there in many cases. Our responsibility is to make sure things are safe first, sort of the do no harm Hippocratic oath. So it does take longer to get new innovations, drugs, therapies, devices, really that are truly effective into the medical realm. I think we need to help reinvent and innovate, let's say, the FDA process. And the FDA, to its credit, is re-looking at how to take these new exponential technologies. Things are evolving quicker than they can regulate or address, whether that's synthetic biology or regenerative medicine or others. So the escape velocity, to some degree, is going to be determined by how quickly we can innovate the process of innovation and trials. And trials in the future won't be the standard phase 1, 2, 3 with hundreds or thousands of patients. They might need to be to an N of 1. Again, your longevity cocktail or chemotherapy regimen might need to be very specific and different, and that can't be measured in the same ways. So it's going to be frustrating for many of us that there can be some great innovations. Some of the things we talk about, some of the things that exist already today are still going to in some case take 5 or 10 years to get into the clinic. And hopefully part of my mission and others is to help push that a little bit faster, but still do that in a safe way. Mm-hmm. So the escape velocity sometimes will surprise us. Maybe one thing can happen in a few years. Just like 10 years ago, we probably couldn't have predicted Twitter or Skype or YouTube or Facebook. We don't want to, especially those of us in this conversation, we don't want to be limited to our linear thoughts. But I'm hopefully in the next 10 to 15 years, some other big leaps will happen. So in 10 years, we'll have this conversation through a very different connection and go, I can't believe this already happened. And part of what Singularity U, FutureMed, is to get people on that wavelength and mindset. So I don't want to give you a prediction about when the escape velocity is going to happen, but I think it'll be an integration of multiple different arenas, and it's not going to be one size fits all. and it's not going to lead to longevity or health wealth for all. But particularly if we spend attention, money, and effort on that prevention side, that we're not curing cancer, we're preventing it from happening. We're not curing diabetes, we're getting anybody off of that pre-diabetic path. Sometimes using simple apps, behavioral modification, virtual reality, points, gamification, all those smart things we talk about at SU to impact that can influence lifespan dramatically and get people to 20, 30 years from now when we really are printing your own organ from your own stem cells, on demand at the price of $100.